world? Patricia O'Connor and Frida Reba Darcy here. Today on the Bonsai balcony, it is Saturday. It is our Saturday drop. I said yes. It is 100 Brazilian degrees. That may not be an actual number. It is really hot up here. They are saying on the ground it's not that hot. I mean, I just checked a couple of minutes ago using this same phone that I'm using as a camera. I was using as a thermometer earlier, and it said something like 73. Nah, not so much. That thermometer's closer. It says we're closer to 90 up here. Not 90, but closer to 90. What does that mean? Well, that means that I'm about to overheat. Pretty warm. No, what that means is that when we started this morning quite early, that some of the new foliage on our tree was already laying over. It was already dry. This was normally dry when I see it in the morning, but it was dry and some of this stuff had lost hydraulic. So it was like, first thing, let's water early. And on extremely hot days, we may find ourselves watering early and often. Also, today is kind of a two-pronged show. We got a notice from the kind folks at the front office saying that it was come to their attention that we had a water issue several times a week. Key phrase, several times a week. I'm going to own that. Yeah, that's probably the case. I've been wondering whether or not this guy was causing a waterfall down there on the ground instead of that water going into the vat. I don't know if you can see the vat. There's a vat down there. It's supposed to catch all the water. See that hose? That hose is connected to this trough. There's a hole right here that is supposed to catch the runoff whenever I had the tree originally right over here. What had been happening, though, was the water had been running off to the wall, missing the trough completely, and then making that whole corner of the balcony wet, and then that just drips and drips. It's mostly runoff that just goes over the side. So it's the weird news is it's not to worry, it's clean water, but the bad news is it's going down, and that's not good. That's not something that is conscientious neighbors that we should be doing. So remedies. Earlier, first thing we noticed, we came out here expecting to have to do a little bit of balcony work, and whoa, it was so hot. So first things first, instead of doing that, we brought this tree in because it needed watering, which meant that it was lightweight, but we needed to do our mechanic work while it was lightweight. So I brought the tree in. I hooked up my Makita and drill bit. I also marked with painter's tape where I had the tree sitting, so that when I brought the tree in, there was an area there that said, this is my trough. So this is where the tree is sitting, and this is the area that needs to catch all of our runoff. So what I did then is, what you can't see is there's a whole bunch of holes drilled in there. There's just directly in this, directly over the trough, directly under the pot. So that when we water, it no longer has to hit that thing, which the plywood is also warping a little bit, which meant that it wanted to run any place but that one drain hole. So having done that, I then put that tree back in its place and watered it, stood back and examined the results, and we failed. It's a lot better, but we failed. So I'm gonna wait for that. And it's not good enough to say, oh, well, that's 85% better. No, I need to do better than that. At first I thought, well, I need to slow down the water. And I'm just like, well, stuff something back there. And then I thought, well, you won't even know if that works until later, next time you water. And probably not. What we need to do is, the next solution is I'm going to put this pot in a baking tin that I have that's big enough for that, and I'm going to drill a few holes in the baking tin that line up with those holes. So in other words, there'll be a ridge in the tin that won't allow the water to just run over the side of the baking tin and run off that end. The ridge of the baking tin will be over here closer to this side. It'll be closer to over their drainage holes, and we're just gonna make sure we direct our water better. And that happened to happen. That just happened to happen, and it's not really a coincidence. They both kind of play into one another. Right now, we're watering heavily. You know, you want to make sure that not only, I always say, when you want to water on the top until you see water come out of the bottom. So that's always what we do. But at the same time, sometimes we start off drier, and so it takes more water going in, and we're seeing a result of that. We're seeing a little bit, but it was only there because I'm looking. You can kind of see the ground takes a wet turn right here, right under the. So that's what we're doing, and that's what I have going on. And coincidentally, that is the same thing. It's not really a coincidence, but it's the same time that we're having our heat issues. So during heat issues, it's really important to keep everybody watered. I would recommend watering early and often. That will not always see this damage right here. I did something similar to this branch earlier today. So what happens here is this dawn redwood at about 90 degrees is starting to get a little shocky. So end result of that being a little shocky is damp, wet, or otherwise, it's not properly taking up the water that it needs to stay cool. And we see more damage because of that. I was already it's like my canary in the coal mine. This is the one that shows my heat damage first. Second, oddly enough, if these bald cypresses, which are normally used to temperatures way, way, way hotter than anything we see in the Bay of California here in the Bay Area, they're used to really high temperatures, but also they're trees in a restricted environment. So should they go dry on a hot day, they will drop their foliage, and that's it. That'll just wreck that stuff until late in the year. This late in the year, that'll probably be that for the year. The oaks, yeah, they're going through a lot of water. This guy looked as dry as my other oak, but it didn't look like it was having any droops over the process. So this is a good time to water in more slowly, because I have the time to do this correctly, and because we want to make sure that we don't miss our waterings, and we want to make double sure that our waterings are so very thorough. I tend to use my small watering can more and make more trips and water more slowly and have more focus on less runoff and more of the water going through the pot. Incidentally, what do you do? This is just what do you do if your teachers sometimes contradict one another? I've got several people out there in the world who I consider to be exceptionally good teachers when it comes to bonsai, and I tend to take their teachings as canon. And at the same time, sometimes they contradict one another. One solution, if it's not potting season and you've got a tree that's taken too long to take up the water, according to one of my teachers, was to take a ice pick or something and stab, or a drill with a small drill bit, and actually just drill little holes in the top here so that the water will have a place to go to instead of immediately running off. This can also happen because you've got this surface tension on dry soil. Wetting down that soil on top thoroughly, just before, like misting or something, or a light sprinkle all over will break that surface tension. But having said that, if it still wants to run off rather than soak in, to the point to where it's problematic, then what they said to do was to stab it with ice picks. Also, it's kind of a known thing to go along the edge with a comma or a knife and go all the way down to the bottom of the pot and just kind of separate that area between the edge of the pot and just kind of, those roots are just mashed up against the wall and they're swirling around there anyway. Just take out and make a trench along here, which will take out some of that tension here and allow it to more easily take up water and kind of help you to maintain your balance of water and oxygen and stuff. And that's real important. You also hear people now. Somebody, the other teacher, in contradiction to the stabbing the soil with an ice pick, said no, that they don't do that, and the reason they don't do that is they say that when you stab the soil with an ice pick, you're just making the area around it more compressed. And I went, well, that seemingly makes as much sense as what the other teacher said. So, I wonder how can I possibly know who's right here? And is it really a matter of who's right or who's wrong? In most instances, a lot of what we say is this is true or this is not true is true to an extent. This is very little is 100% true. Some things are 60% true. Some things are don't actually pass muster that well. So the way to know is to try it and see. I had gotten good results before using that method. I had also tried that and had it not do what I was hoping that it would achieve. We would still going to have to limp along until repotting season, and it's still going to take longer to water. So the answer is yes. They were both to some degree or another correct, depending on the type of how compressed and how compact the soil is. What kind of soil is it? Are you making room, or are you just compressing that surface area more? I did it to this tree and I did it to that tree, and it increased the ability for both of those trees to uptake water. It was the proverbial quick fix between now and when I actually decided to repot the tree. So that's what happens when your teachers contradict one another. Just have a little test and see which one is correct for you and your situation. It might very well be that the person that said that doesn't work has a situation with their trees that means that that's what they've seen whenever they've tried that. Whereas the person that said that does work has a situation closer to mine, and what I saw was this worked. I would also expect that positive results to drop off over time. You can only get away with that so long before you actually need to break down and do a repotting. I don't need to break down and do a repotting from that guy. I need to find a kind of back and forth, but yeah, this guy is probably going to be up for a repotting this next year. So this is just more conversation about watering and our heat situation and how to be a good neighbor. You have to be retroactive. The notice that I got whenever it came time to the notice that I got on this said that we had water coming off our balcony multiple times a week. That told me that this is the thing that I'm watered multiple times a week, and I was also curious whether or not that runoff on the back was affecting the front, and I wouldn't have known for sure without hanging over the rail, but I could pretty well guess that it was, but I hadn't heard anything, so now I'd heard something. So we've sprung into action. This tin here with a few holes in it that line up with the holes that I've already put in the bottom there will probably be the final solution to that. That'll give us a lip to slow the water down before it goes over that edge where I stuffed our little styrofoam pipe insulation. It seemed like foam rubber. See what I was thinking there? I'll just stuff that back there in the water instead of going to that wall. We'll hit that, and it would probably not. It'd probably just run right under there and keep pouring on the ground. So we'll put this in a dish and stop that. That's that solution there. Also, I would also say that whenever I first started doing this, I did get comments from people saying if I tried this at my apartment, I would be bounced out of here. Uh, we weren't ever bounced out of here. Every, so often the apartment um, changes, whoops, changes management. And when that happens, I'll get a notice saying, your trees are up on the rail. And then I have to pop them a picture and show that we made our own rail. You can't tell that from the ground. But also, if you look around the other balconies, you'll see that people have plants on their rail. But those are their little garden purchases that are, those come and go. These don't come and go. I don't need to get into beef with the higher ups over what I can and can't do in regarding to, into my investment in bonsai trees and my art forms. So, I've got art here and I've got time and money invested in this, just like I have time and money invested in these. So the idea was to be self-sufficient. Boom, our own rail and our own jacks. Also, make sure that the powers that be know that I've gone to that extent. Also, I'll let them know that my identity and my is pretty much wrapped up in this channel, and this channel is pretty much a matter of enabling people of what they can do with the art form of bonsai without affecting the people around them. So, in this case, letting them know that running afoul with the management is bad for business and not something we're looking to do. It's good that they know that. It's good that they see this. It's good that they see that that this is some pretty nice artwork. And also it's good that we're proactive. So it's not like we've never had to answer for anything that we've done, but we have to make good on it. And every so often we have to show people that it's okay. And every so often we have to eat it when we are doing stuff. In this case, this was something that I was curious if it was going to be a problem, and it is. And my first idea of a quick solution wasn't enough in my book. I've got a plan too, but I'm going to let all this dry out first. And I'm also going to let it cool down. I've already lifted that tree once today. It's gained about probably 30 pounds in water weight since then, so I don't really feel like keeping that down there right now. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Our next drop will be tomorrow, and tomorrow's drop is going to be another beautiful day. I don't know if it's going to be a scorcher or not. I wasn't planning on. They weren't talking like this was going to be too hot, but then everybody doesn't live on a fourth floor with no AC. So yeah, it's probably mid 70s on the ground, but it's past 80. It's past 80, I believe what that says when it's getting ready to lean towards 90. The good news is that's probably our high. We're probably backing off from here. But I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you. Our next drop will be tomorrow. And thank you all. Thank you all so much for watching on this really warm day.